Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in, and the National Association of Realtors has actually admitted to being racist, which is absolutely shocking to me. So we're going to go into an article from Inman News that's going to break down systemic racism that's actually going on in the real estate market. And some of you may not feel like that actually exists. And as an industry professional of 2 decades, y'all, I can't help but acknowledge systemic racism in many areas of the US, unfortunately. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And as someone that has briefly tasted racism, I was a minority in Chino, California. I was picked on, bullied, and jumped because I was white. I can absolutely tell you that it was scary and I felt like I did not have control of my well-being. However, through that time, that experience actually empowered me. It would be completely different if the entire school body, like the teachers and principals, were actually racist as well. If they were racist as well, that would tear me apart. Now, I really think it's important to understand what's going on in real estate, so at the very least, we're aware of potential pitfalls and things of that nature, and we know what to do if anyone is racist towards us. And I'm talking any race, you guys. All racism is unacceptable. And for taking on this subject, you guys, please do me a favor, like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Either way, guys, the name of this article is Redlining and Steering Continue to Plague Housing. So where's NAR, the National Association of Realtors? As you'd expect, the National Association of Realtors is backing its members, but sadly, it's failing homeowners. And based on its lack of action, it seems to lack a desire to make meaningful change to reduce discrimination via steering and redlining. I'm starting to lose faith in its ability to change. And you guys know I'm preaching their entire industry needs change for many different reasons. It's completely unfair. It's taking advantage of poorly equipped consumers, and society actually victimizes like builders and realtors and points the finger at the consumers and says, you should have known better. When the reality is, purchasing a home on your own with no experience as a realtor or a loan officer or any experience in real estate is almost impossible to do. It's not a good time to work at NAR. Lawsuits, investigations, and slumping sales are leading to dropping membership numbers. It's a bit of a dumpster fire, Bob Goldberg, the CEO of NAR, said. However, in sharp contrast, Rick Riley of the NAR Membership Policy and Board Judiciary Committee, which oversees NAR membership requirements, said last month it's a great day for fair housing. I'm pretty sure he was not trying to be ironic. His comments come after the committee voted to adapt new rules and guidelines aimed at reducing discriminatory practices in housing. So that's right, you guys, NAR is changing the guidelines and policies to eliminate that type of behavior. But the really shocking thing is it's 2023 and we still have systemic racism. Isn't that crazy to you guys? Like, why aren't people growing up? The leadership at the nation's largest trade organization has been slow to react and reacted with meaningless, non-impactful changes. What most people don't know is that redlining, steering, and discrimination continue to plague the housing industry. The latest move accomplishes next to nothing. Some pretty strong words right there. NAR and racism have a long history together. The National Association of Realtors no longer denies this. They admitted fault when NAR formally apologized for being racist. What? I don't know how I missed that, but again, they admitted fault when NAR formally apologized for being racist. Officially, NAR knows there is an issue. That's not the problem. The problem is that NAR and its memberships have a pattern of doing very little that moves the needle. And I'm just going to throw in new home builders as well. New home builders steer like crazy. New home builders say, if you don't use my lender, if you don't use my title company, then we're not giving you these incentives. You must use our people or you don't get this money. That's steering. It's against the law, but again, new home builders are not regulated like us. So they get away with steering. So I'm going to just throw in new home builders. New home builders need to be completely re-regulated. And as you would expect, this apology did not resolve anything. And there's an increasing supply of examples showing the significance of this problem. Ruin the Suburbs. A few years ago, the YouTube show Adam Ruins Everything did a great episode on redlining where he explains that suburbs are white due to decades of racist policy that affect us to this day. It doesn't mean that you and I are racist, but what this video is going to point out is back in the day, right? We'll just say back in the day, the policyholders or the bankers or the CEOs or whoever actually were racist and created policies and laws based on someone's race. There's no hiding that. So I'm going to play this video. We're only going to watch it for about 2.5 minutes, guys. He's going to break down a little bit more in an entertaining way exactly what happens. So take a listen. That video, but remember what I'm saying, y'all. Just because you and I are not racist doesn't mean there's still policies and laws that were actually made as a result of racist bias. And that's actually a fact. And I really think that NAR, National Association of Realtors, is falling so short of doing the right thing. The National Association of Realtors, NAR, is so big that they actually have power to make change. And again, not just with the racism, there's so much going on in the housing market right now that needs change. But we have to ask ourselves, well, why is NAR not making change? Well, their job is to make realtors happy and to collect dues. So they're busy cheerleading realtors to make more money versus handling systemic problems. This video is gold. However, it ends with a punch in the gut and no next steps in the right direction. Is this where NAR steps in to save the day? Not exactly. Long Island divided. Immediately after Adam Ruin's video was released, Newsday released the amazingly shocking and appalling Long Island, New York investigation, which revealed the news stories that broke in 2019, where the investigators used paired testing, sending two different people to the same real estate agent. One of them was white and the other one was a minority. I'm telling y'all, it's pretty sad. In 49% of the cases, African-American home buyers were shown fewer listings and steered away from white neighborhoods. Awkward Senate hearings. After the Long Island divided investigation, our government was actually pretty quick to react, holding hearings that were incredibly embarrassing to the real estate industry and raising public awareness of the issue. While helpful to the overall direction of the case, this alone did little to make change. Politicians love to jump in to help when a spotlight reveals a significant problem for voters. Lending lawsuits. Until now, real estate companies and their associations have avoided legal trouble because there is such a strong precedent for lender-related lawsuits. Attorneys are following a script that works in mortgage. There's nothing stopping a similar pattern from emerging in the real estate side of the coin. As a residential loan officer and as a licensed real estate salesperson, I can tell you that the difference in regulation is enormous. It is way more regulated when it comes to residential mortgage financing versus being a realtor. So again, we need to tighten this up, in my opinion. We need to tighten up the rules and the laws and all of these types of things so that families stop becoming a victim. As recently as March 2023, Park National Bank, the national bank in Iowa, lost $9 million in a judgment for discriminatory lending practices. And that was in 2023. In January of 2023 in Los Angeles, they secured a $31 million victory over City National Bank on discriminatory lending practices. How is this still happening? And again, Providence Bank in St. Louis, Missouri settled for $10 million in 2019 after a suit was brought alleging discriminatory lending practices. In United States versus Associated Bank, the defendants reached a settlement of a whopping $200 million with the DOJ over allegations of redlining in 2015. The city of Philadelphia filed a lawsuit against Wells Fargo in 2017, accusing the bank of discriminatory lending practices, including redlining. The case is ongoing. Continuing education. In my home state of Colorado, it takes a whopping 1,500 hours of training just to do hair as a professional barber, and a mere 168 hours to become a real estate agent. So it takes almost 10 times more effort from a studying standpoint to become a barber versus a real estate agent. Just FYI on that. Pretty gross when you think about a $40 haircut versus a $400 $100,000 house. And this is actually a good point. And a lot of people say that their pizza delivery man is actually also a realtor. So the real estate bar is very low. How low is the continuing education? Well, I'm a CE certified teacher. So I could tell you that it is super low. However, my CE classes, pure fire, y'all. Absolute fire, filled with value and things that are constructive on what's going on today. Currently, the only training NAR requires of its members is a 2.5-hour Realtor Code of Ethics, training every 3 years. This covers all of the Code of Ethics. That's a whopping 0.004% of working hours over 3 years. So this tells us that they're probably not taking ethics very seriously. The evidence above illustrates the significant failure of the current policies. Additional training on fair housing is obviously needed. A sinking feeling. If you reveal a problem like a leak in your boat, the proper response for most people would be to find a source of the leak, patch it, remove the water, look for other similar potential issues, and then monitor them going forward. That sounds fair. Yet, there is another option. Let the boat fill with water, rot away slowly, and sink. NAR has basically selected option 2. They didn't find the source of the leak, patch it, nor look for other potential problems. What they did is establish a program that says boat leaks are bad. Lessons not learned. The sweeping changes forced upon the mortgage industry following the great financial collapse came about because the mortgage industry did not have leadership strong enough to make the changes that would deal with the systemic issues at hand. And it's the same thing with NAR. And don't forget, and that was through the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act. It also reduced loan officer commission by about 60 to 75%. And that's what I've been saying, guys. The same thing needs to happen with NAR in the sense that it needs to be re-regulated because like the wild, wild west out there. And people are violating code, ethics, and law like crazy. Not everyone, probably not the realtors that are watching my channel, but all the other realtors. But there is a tremendous amount of realtors that are. And if you're a realtor and if you're a good one and you've been in this business, you know what I'm saying is exactly true, even if it doesn't pertain to you. NAR is the largest trade organization in the United States. Okay. And if its leadership can't or refuses to see this threat as significant, they too will see the wrath of the government rules and restrictions that mortgage dealt with more than a decade ago. The Attorney General is focused on eradicating the problems and has been focused on lending, but I'd wager that the real estate injury is next on the chopping block. Thank goodness. And I'm a realtor, I can say it. 2 hours of education is not a meaningful change because you could just sit there. And, as an agent, I could just go to class and I could just tune out. Okay, the tests aren't even hard. Half the time, the instructor gives you the answer. Addressing discriminatory practices such as steering and redlining with meaningful change requires a comprehensive approach involving collaboration between various stakeholders, including policymakers, lenders, community organizations, and adversary groups. Since NAR has not taken the lead, the government will eventually step in. Now, in conclusion, y'all know my channel is not about racism, but I will say that I do enjoy preaching about love. I really feel like a lot of these problems and the problems that we're currently facing could be resolved. And actually, we wouldn't even be in these problems if people would replace greed with love. And I can tell you guys, as someone that used to be greedy, loving people is way more fulfilling, and it just leads to a way more fulfilling and happy life. And a lot of times when I stress out about the housing market or about moving because I'm locked in renting, what I do, y'all, is I think of someone else and I try to serve someone else, like my family or my children, and that gets me out of my head. So hopefully you guys aren't having to experience any type of racism. If you are, from the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry that you are. There is help, and if it was me, I would absolutely report it. And I would report those people to either a broker, any type of government agency, because the reality is that you and I need to hold these people accountable. Now, other than that, guys, I really hope you guys got some value, insights, and perspective in today's video. And if you're out there investing in real estate, I wish you luck, and I hope you win.